Montgomery played a crucial role in defeating the Axis forces during World War II. His strategic brilliance, however, was rivaled only by his enormous ego and complete lack of tact. Winston Churchill himself described him as unbeatable in defeat, unbearable in victory. Bernard Law Montgomery, nicknamed Monty, was born in 1887 in London into a strict and zealous family. His father, Henry, was a minister in the Church of Ireland, and his mother, Maud, was the daughter of a reverend. Despite his family background, Monty never intended to follow in his parents' footsteps. When he was just 2 years old, his father became the Bishop of Tasmania, and the family relocated to Australia. Due to the demands of his work, his father often left for months at a time, leaving Monty and his 8 siblings in the care of their overwhelmed mother. She struggled to manage a large family in an unfamiliar place and frequently ignored them. When she did intervene, Monty often suffered severe beatings for what she considered insubordination. Perhaps influenced by his mother's harsh parenting and their constant clashes, Monty developed a taste for fighting early on. He often targeted smaller, weaker schoolmates, playing cruel, authoritarian games with them. On one occasion, he even forced a group of boys to walk up a ladder and across a roof with their hands tied together. Fortunately, Monty's difficult years in Australia ended in 1901 when the family returned to London, but the early experiences had left their mark. He had grown into an unpleasant young man. Shortly afterward, he attended the Royal Military College at Sandhurst, yet even the strict British Army officers struggled to manage him. His superiors nearly expelled him due to his rebelliousness and violent behavior, which must have been extreme for the army to consider such a measure. Miraculously, Monty managed to comply with orders long enough to graduate at the age of 21, eager to experience the realities of war firsthand. After graduating, Monty saw some action in India. His apparent brutality in battle helped him attain the rank of lieutenant, but it was not until World War I that he truly distinguished himself. During the First Battle of Ypres, Monty fell into a sniper's crosshairs, taking one shot to his right lung and another to his knee. No one expected him to survive. The doctors were so certain he would return to Britain in a coffin that the army prepared his grave in advance. Against all odds, Monty survived and, for his gallant leadership, was awarded the Distinguished Service Order Medal. By 1915, after recovering, he returned to the front lines, continuing to distinguish himself and rising to the rank of staff officer by the time the Allies declared victory. The war, however, left a lasting impact. While Monty was no stranger to cruelty and violence, the horrors he witnessed during World War I changed him forever. He felt that generals on both sides displayed complete disregard for human life. After the war, Monty found his life's purpose. He resolved to master the art of war. Observing widespread incompetence among officers, he was determined to devote himself to military excellence. To achieve a high rank in the British Army, he knew he needed education and a better attitude. Lacking family connections and struggling to follow orders, Monty initially failed to gain admission to Staff College, an essential institution for aspiring high command officers. A chance invitation to play tennis, however, brought him face to face with the Commander-in-Chief, Field Marshal Sir William Robertson. Monty impressed him enough to secure a position at Staff College, where he swallowed his pride long enough to graduate in 1921 as a brigade major. Monty soon found himself in a challenging and nearly impossible situation, stationed with the 17th Infantry Brigade in Ireland and tasked with counterinsurgency operations against Irish nationalists. Confronted with a no-win scenario, Monty abandoned any notions of clemency or pacifism. Ireland became his first real leadership test, revealing that he was not as formidable as he believed. In May 1922, he led a substantial force into the town of Mallow in search of missing British officers, hoping that a show of strength would compel IRA commander Charlie Brown to surrender the men. Brown, however, lured Monty into a trap by agreeing to negotiate outside the castle gates while dozens of IRA volunteers took up firing positions, completely surrounding Monty and his troops. Given 10 minutes to leave, Monty had no choice but to retreat. He was unaware that the IRA had already executed the missing officers, a grim retaliation for Monty's earlier actions in Ireland. In response, Monty unleashed a brutal scorched earth campaign, burning houses and wreaking havoc across the region. Despite these violent campaigns, he attempted to maintain a personal life, though his fanatical dedication to the army made this difficult. It was not until his late 30s, in 1925, that Monty managed to piece together something resembling a romantic life. His first known romantic interest was a 17-year-old girl named Betty Anderson. Monty's idea of a romantic walk on the beach involved drawing diagrams of hypothetical troop and armored vehicle deployments in the sand, a gesture that failed to impress her, resulting in the rejection of his proposal. A few years later, Monty met Elizabeth Carver, the widowed sister of a British Army officer. She and her 2 sons fit seamlessly into his life, and for a time, it seemed as though he had finally created a family of his own. Even his stepsons admired him, later remarking on the bravery it took to marry their widowed mother. A few years after their marriage, Monty and Elizabeth had a son together, David. Yet tragedy was never far away. While vacationing in Burnham-on-Sea, Elizabeth was bitten by a mysterious insect. The wound became severely infected, requiring the amputation of her leg. Her condition continued to deteriorate, and she developed either sepsis or septicemia. In the end, all Monty could do was hold her as she slipped away. Devastated, Montgomery threw himself into his work. Immediately after the funeral, he abandoned any hope of a normal life and dedicated himself entirely to the army. He was quickly promoted to Major General and posted to Mandatory Palestine, far from the haunting memories of his wife. There, he vented his grief on the Great Palestinian Revolt, crushing all resistance. Less than a year later, he returned to England, restless and eager for another fight, and he would soon get more than he had anticipated. Within months of his return, World War II erupted in Europe. Monty was deployed to France with the 3rd Division, where his leadership proved invaluable. While other divisions entrenched defensively, he trained the 3rd Division into the finest fighting force west of the Rhine, insisting on rigorous exercises at night and under poor conditions. Though his men complained, his methods saved lives. By the time the fighting escalated, Monty's division had earned a reputation for agility and flexibility, qualities that became critical as France fell to Axis forces. The 3rd Division was in the right place at the right time to cover the British retreat at Dunkirk. During this deployment, some of Monty's quirks became evident, most notably his strict bedtime of 9:30 p.m., artillery fire notwithstanding, and his order that he not be disturbed unless there was an emergency. By 1942, the Allies were gaining ground, and Churchill sought a new field commander in North Africa. Despite, or because of, Monty's stubborn reputation, he was chosen. There, he faced the formidable German field marshal, the Desert Fox, Erwin Rommel. At his first meeting with his officers, Monty declared that they would either defeat Rommel or die trying. He spent months repelling Rommel's offensives and preparing for a decisive battle, appearing cautious to his superiors. Churchill demanded action, but Monty focused on strengthening the 8th Army. In October 1942, Monty launched his long-awaited counteroffensive. The Second Battle of El Alamein lasted 12 days and caused 13,500 casualties, but Monty had his victory and the satisfaction of proving his critics wrong. However, the personal cost was high. His stepson, Dick Carver, had been captured while scouting. Exhausting every resource to rescue him, Monty finally saw luck favor him when Dick escaped and returned in time for Christmas. As Montgomery scored victory after victory against Rommel, his ego swelled, making him a challenging ally. By the time he became Field Marshal, he was working alongside U.S. Generals George Patton and Omar Bradley, with the 3 reportedly quarreling like schoolchildren. Despite his difficult personality, Monty had a dark sense of humor. A 1944 photograph shows him with his 2 dogs, a fox terrier named Hitler and a spaniel named Rommel, literally having the Führer and the Desert Fox on a leash. Monty was known for being arrogant, boastful, and unlikable, yet he was also literal. For instance, he made a bet with U.S. General Walter B. Smith that he could capture Sox by mid-April 1943. Smith joked that if he succeeded, he would personally give Monty a Boeing B-17. Monty took the bet seriously, captured Sox, and demanded his prize. Eisenhower reluctantly delivered a fully staffed B-17. In 1949, Monty's mother died, but he remained resentful of her harsh parenting. The 62-year-old Lord Montgomery declined to attend her funeral, claiming he was too busy. After the war, he held several high-ranking positions but never exerted the influence he desired, largely due to his own temperament. Later in life, he held controversial views, supporting apartheid in South Africa and opposing gay rights. Monty demanded discipline not just from his men but from himself. Throughout his life, he was teetotal, a dedicated vegetarian, and a devout Christian. In the end, it seems that in his 88 years, What he truly enjoyed above all else was a good fight.